Hey guys, the rear left brake caliper on my 2009 Honda Accord EXL coupe is leaking, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace it. First thing I did is I loosened the 5 lug nuts using a 19 mil, and then after that I'm going to make sure there's 4 jack stand points and I'm going to jack up the car. And just like that, I have the car supported under 5 jack stand points, 3 on the left side, 2 on the right side, and I have a lot of jack stands, but I'm super imperative about safety. After I take off the left rear wheel, I'm gonna take the wheel and I'm gonna put it under the car as well as an extra safety backup. Always better to be safe than to be sorry. Yes, this car is a 5-speed manual. I first put the car in first gear and put on the handbrake, and then I jacked up the car, and now we're working with the rear wheel and we're gonna disconnect the e-brake cable, so I let off the handbrake. So now we're gonna put the tire under the car, and as you can see there's a noticeable amount of grease, so we're gonna wipe it down. And that's the brake fluid, .3 brake fluid. Okay, so see this right here? This one is the e-brake cable. Disconnect this, pull it up and out, and you should have your handbrake down. So using these pliers, that is hands down the best way to get this disconnected, the e-brake holder. We have 2 sliding pin bolts, one here and one up here. So I'm using a 9/16. I repeat, 9/16 to break them loose. I made sure to use a set of pliers to hold this steady while I used a impact to loosen the sliding pin bolts. Keep them in a safe place. You're gonna need to, just in case you need to reuse them again. Yeah, I'm keeping my sliding pin bolts right here. Next thing we're gonna do is disconnect. There's a bolt to disconnect the e-brake cable. So it's gonna be right behind here. I tried pulling, but pulling isn't as effective as using a long flathead screwdriver to pry it out. Now that the sliding pins are off, just stick the flathead in and pry the caliper off the caliper bracket. Sorry, I had to rush and record that really quickly because brake fluid was going to be spilling everywhere. I didn't want to lose too much brake fluid, but pretty much disconnected the banjo bolt from the old caliper and put it onto the new one. And just make sure there's 2 washers. Make sure there is 2 washers, 1 washer here and 1 washer here. So 2 copper washers. I quickly disconnected it and I used an 11 mil socket with a power tool to remove it, and then I tightened it back up. After using a 12 mil to remove the e-brake bolt off of the old caliper, you're gonna mount it on to the new caliper. And same thing, use the old bolt and put it on. For mine, I have attached the banjo bolt on, I have attached the e-brake cable on. My old brake caliper bracket is actually still good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some brake cleaner, wipe all of this clean, use some brake cleaner on this, and then I'm going to clean it up, clean up the backing of the inner brake caliper, and then clean up the outer brake caliper as well, and then we're going to put everything back together because now this is no longer leaking and it's good to be set up again. I'm going to use some dish soap and this metal dishwashing sponge that you use for pots and pans and scrub the back of this clean. And then using brake cleaner and wipes, and I'm gonna wipe the surface of the pads as well as the rotors. Awesome, now that you have the e-brake bolt mounted on and the banjo bolt mounted onto the new caliper, still reusing the old caliper bracket, you're just ready for your last step, which is putting the e-brake mount on. Now that you have the new one mounted on, now you're going to open up the rubber cap here, and then you're going to, after opening up the bleeder valve, multiple times of pumping the brakes and also filling up the .3 master cylinder with .3 brake fluid, we have now officially reached where the brakes feel firm when you step on it, and the master cylinder is full, and that's how we know we have done it. So now what you do next is you just lower your car and you clean up all your stuff and you put your wheel back on.